On this edition of Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to do a recap of what went down in Week 4, and we also got some exciting matchup going into Week 5 of the college football season. Starts right here, only on Gameball College Kickoff podcast. Starts now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball College Kickoff Podcast, where the football season never ends. I'm your host, Michael Riley.
And I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
Alright, we're going to do a recap of what games went down in Week 4. And we also got some games we're going to do for Week 5. So what do you have for us today?
Alright, like you mentioned, we're going to go ahead and recap everything that went down in Week 4 of the college football season. We're going to start with Penn State taking on the Iowa Buckeyes. In this one, it was a close score. It went down to the wire as number 4 Penn State, where they escaped Iowa rather by a score of 21-19 on a final play. Tracy McSorley, 284 yards as well as a touchdown. Also threw a pick in this contest. Saquon Barkley was also solid. He had 28 carries for a total of 211 yards, as well as a game-winning touchdown, which put Penn State over the top of the Iowa Buckeyes. For Iowa, quarterback Nathan Stanley, 13 of 22 for 191 yards, as well as 2 touchdowns in this contest. What happened at the last minute for Penn State to escape?
Well, I'm going to get into the last minute part. It was a good game to the finish. And when you go into Iowa Hawkeye Stadium, it is a tough place to play, especially for the top 5 or top 10 teams in the country, because sometimes when you go in there, either leave there with a win or leave there with a loss, but it's always going to be close. So early upon, they was going back and forth. I expected to be close and tight in a dogfight, and Penn State was able to score first, and Iowa responded back. It's kind of kept going back and forth, but both defenses played outstanding. Even though it was a low-scoring game, they played outstanding. And when plays was needed to be made, they made the most of it. And this running back kid, Saquon Barkley, is something special. Did you see that hurdle he did?
Yes, I did. Yes,
that hurdle was nasty, and he still kept going. You can tell this kid is a grinder. He works hard. He also did a solid job in the pass game as well. He about had 100 yards, so that would have made his total to 300 yards in total of offense. But when it came down to it, when Iowa scored and there was like seconds left, Penn State needed a touchdown to win this game. So what they did was they was calm. They didn't let the pressure get into him, or they didn't let the crowd get to him. The quarterback was calm and cool, because he had some mistakes in the game, but when it came to finish the game and get the win, he led his team down there, got some key first down plays on, it was either third or fourth down. Back in the shotgun, hit a tight end with a crossing route, open for a touchdown, game over, silence the crowd. That was the score of 22-19. I did predict it 20-17. I was off by 2 points on each side. It was very close, but I expected a low scoring game, and I expected it was a hype game that it lived up to, because when these two teams play, it's always come down to the wire of the last play of the game, and that's exactly happened. Penn State capitalized on it, and Iowa did good, but they didn't do good enough to win that game against Penn State.
Penn State escaping. Of course, once again, ranked number 4 in the country. So this would have been a huge upset had they walked away from that field with a loss to the Iowa Buckeyes. So definitely, like you said,
Hawkeyes.
the Hawkeyes. Excuse me, the Hawkeyes with that loss their way in Iowa. So definitely a close call for a top 25 ranked team to walk out of there with a victory. We're going to go into the second recap, and that's going to be Mississippi State versus Georgia. Georgia defeated Mississippi State by a score of 31-3 in that contest. Jake Fromm, pretty solid, 9 of 12, 201 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb, 15 carries, 81 yards, as well as 2 touchdowns in that contest as well. Terry Godwin would go for 2 receptions, 80 yards, and a single score. For Mississippi State, quarterback Nick Fitzgerald in that game would have 14 of 29 on pass attempts, 83 yards, but 2 picks in this game. What happened in this game?
Well, Georgia's defense is what happened that game. They literally neutralized and shut down Mississippi State offense. They wouldn't let them do the quarterback draw or run at the middle between the tackles, kind of let the line develop the block for you and get it up the middle. And Georgia was ready for that. In my opinion, right now, I say Georgia has the best defense in the country. Go to Alabama. So right now, as it stands, I give the Georgia better defense ahead of Alabama's defense just by a slim margin, but we'll get back to that later. So Georgia just flat out dominated on defense, just flat out shut down Mississippi State's offense and forced them to be a pass happy team that which played into Georgia's favor and making plays on defense. They was able to stop the run. They was able to put pressure on the quarterback. They was able to tackle well, especially in the open field, and they was able to get turnovers, force 3 and out. So that was Georgia's plan, is to force Mississippi State to one-dimensional offense, and they were successful. Now Georgia's offense did outstanding too. Just kept it balanced, nothing too fancy, just simple. Just run the ball, take some time off the clock, wear the defense down, and the passing game, get some good simple passes going, and that will lead to big play passes down the field vertically, and that's what happened. That's how Georgia was able to take advantage of Mississippi's mistakes on offense and defense. Now with Mississippi State, you could tell they was kind of intimidated going up against Georgia because they could not do nothing. They had turnovers. Offense couldn't function right. It was just 3 and out, penalties, false starts, and turnovers is what led them to getting blown out in this game. And Mississippi State defense wasn't ready for Georgia's offense, especially the 3-headed running back monsters that they had in the backfield. So they just kept wearing them down. And when you bring in a guy who has fresh legs with speed, that kills the defense too. So that's what happens to Mississippi State, and unfortunately they couldn't recover, and that's why they got beat like what they got beat by.
The Georgia Bulldogs, now we've talked about them literally since the beginning of the season, and it seems like they continue to gradually get better. What do you see looking forward to in the future for the Georgia Bulldogs?
The future is bright for the Georgia Bulldogs. They just keep doing what they need to do and improve better in their areas. And once they continue to get better and better, they could possibly make some noise and could possibly knock off Alabama in the SEC championship game and put their name in contention for the 14 college playoff.
So you never know. I mean, with the way this college football season is, the heavyweights are doing what they're supposed to do, but you have teams like we just mentioned with the Georgia Bulldogs, when those programs that are definitely seem like they're on the up and coming, they're definitely starting to make a lot of noise, and the nation's starting to pay a lot of attention. So definitely stay with the Georgia Bulldogs, definitely on your radars if you're a college football fan, of course. We're going to move on to the third recap, and that is TCU versus Oklahoma State. TCU would upset number 6 Oklahoma State in this game by a score of 44-31. Darius Anderson for TCU would have a career high 160 yards as well as 3 touchdowns in this game. Kenny Hill would go for 22 of 33, so very solid, as well as 228 yards. Threw a pick in this game, but obviously didn't necessarily matter as they were to upset the number 6 team in the country. For Oklahoma State, of course, like we've been talking about with Mason Rudolph, He was definitely he was solid in this game. Maybe not his best, but he did throw for 398 yards in this game. Two touchdowns. He did throw two picks in this game. He did throw 22 or 41. Justice Hill also for Oklahoma State would have 25 carries, 102 yards, and a score. James Washington, 6 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown in this game as well. Break down this matchup for us.
Well, I'm gonna start with the TCU. You gotta get credit where credit's due. They came out and had a good game plan. They executed. They were the better team to get this win on the road, especially in the hostile environment of Oklahoma State and Stillwater. What TCU did was they was like, okay, we're gonna give you yards, whatever, on defense, but we're not gonna let you beat us with the deep passes. We're going to force you to throw shorter throws, and that's what they did. What they did was they put two defensive backs on two of their good receivers for Oklahoma State and had the safety over top in the slot area to cover one-on-one. That would force Oklahoma State to play small ball on the offense, which usually what they do is they feed off of big plays for touchdowns or big gains, but TCU did a pretty good job of forcing everything in front of him and also not blitzing a lot. They don't really blitz, they just get pressure, and they have one of the best front sevens in the country at getting pressure of the quarterback, forcing Mason Rudolph to get off his spot and force him to make ill-advised throws. And he also threw two interceptions in that game. So you got to give credits due to Gary Patterson, the head coach of TCU. He's a defensive-minded guy, and he had a well game plan, and they executed it, and they was able to succeed on defense. Now on offense, they was flat out just war Oklahoma State's defense, especially in the running game. They was able to chew up the clock, get them on their heels, and force Oklahoma State's defense to not substitute and just do the up tempo. Because once you do the up tempo, that forces defense to get tired or get a penalty with 12 men on that field, and that's played in TCU's favor. And Kenny Hill was very good. He didn't beat himself. He just took what the defense gave him. He didn't do nothing too fancy and just kept the ball rolling, kept chewing up the clock, and get key first downs. Once when Oklahoma State would answer a touchdown, TCU answered a touchdown back of their own, putting pressure on Oklahoma State to score, and that played in TCU's favor. Once you do that against a good opponent like Oklahoma State, you have them on their heels, and you force them to try to take chunk plays of yards, and that didn't work out for Oklahoma State. That worked out for TCU, and TCU was able to win this game. Now with Oklahoma State, they couldn't take advantage of TCU because TCU had game plan well. Instead of going for the deep plays, they should have just went for the simple plays, crossing routes, running back screens, or cross routes, or they would have went for the slant routes. Just mix it up a little bit because once teams figure you out by going big play, especially vertically for touchdowns or a big game, they're going to force you to play small ball. When they force you to play small ball, you have to call different plays and take what the defense gives you. And there were some opportunities where Oklahoma State could have did that, but they just kept going for the big plays, trying to go for the big chunks, and that cost them the game. Also, they didn't have their two best offensive line in the game, and that kind of played TCU's favor because their defensive line was just eating up the offensive line of Oklahoma State, who never had the experience in that spot rip for. So that forced Mason Rudolph to get off his pocket and just throw bad passes or interceptions. And when Oklahoma State was marching down the field the score, the touchdown to take the lead, this gets me. Why would the coaching staff call a halfback pass that gets intercepted instead of letting Mason Rudolph throw a touchdown or make plays to get you a touchdown? And that would have gave momentum back to Oklahoma State, and they would have took the lead, and they could have won this game. See, you have to be smart against TCU. You can't make trick plays like that. You can't call those because TCU is too disciplined on defense. They will figure it out. And once that running back threw that interception and that safety came over to pick it off, that was all she wrote. And that was game over. And defense, they just got gas. They wasn't physical like they normally would because TCU was more physical to Oklahoma State's defense that put them on their heels, and they just couldn't recover from that.
So definitely a huge win for TCU once again, knocking off the number 6 Oklahoma State Cowboys in that contest once again by a score of 44-31. Unfortunately, once again, 398 yards by Mason Rudolph. Unfortunately, in a losing effort. We're going to recap the fourth and final game, and that is the USC Trojans and the California Golden Bears. USC will defeat Cal by a score of 30-20 in this contest. Both sides of the ball came through in the fourth quarter. It seemed like they kind of ran away with it towards the end of the game. What was interesting in that last drive was Stephen Carter, running back, would run for a touchdown exactly 2 plays, mind you, after the defense forced a turnover on California's offense, forcing that turnover. USC now winners of 13 straight, so we'll see how the USC Trojans continue to build off of this win. Sam Darnold, 26 of 38, 223 yards, as well as 2 touchdowns. He would throw 1 pick in this contest. Stephen Carr, once again, 20 carries, as well as 82 yards, and the ultimate game-deciding touchdown in that game. Deontay Burnett, 9 receptions, 76 yards, as well as a touchdown for the USC Trojans. On the Golden Bears side of the football, Ross Bowers, 22 of 50, 303 yards, 1 touchdown, but 4 interceptions in this game. Tell me what happened with California.
Well, I think they got a fool of themselves and they got overconfident, overhyped, seeing that they were at home and they can knock off a good team like USC. You have to be focused and you have to play your game and not play their game, and that's what USC did. They forced Cal to play their game. They couldn't execute on offense or defense. They had too many turnovers. They had too many mistakes and too many penalties, and that cost them the game. And USC was the better team to beat Cal. Now Cal has to go back to the drawing board and make their corrections. And going forward, they have to get better of what they didn't do against USC to take advantage of make plays. Now USC, give them credit because all week you've been hearing about their defense is banged up and offensive line couldn't do nothing, but they responded well. They ran the ball effectively, and Sam Darnold was just Sam Darnold, was just making plays in the pocket and being consistent and let his playmakers make plays. He has to continue to get better at doing that. Now he's a top tier quarterback, but also sometimes he likes to force the ball into tight coverage to where sometimes it could get him in trouble. So he has to trim down on that. If he can trim down on that, his game will progress and get more better. And defense did a better job, and they was able to hold Cal the offense to 20 points to win that game. So if USC continues to make strides, especially on defense, and you get some of your players back healthy, they could be good going down the road.
So once again, USC was able to escape this game in the fourth quarter. Both the offense and defense coming up big in the fourth quarter for the Trojans. Once again, it says they were able to defeat the Golden Bears once again by a score of 30-20. And that will do it for the recap version of Gameball College Kickoff. We're going to go ahead and talk about the top 4 matchups for all of you out there to look out for. We're going to start with an interesting matchup that you picked, and that is Northwestern taking on number 10 Wisconsin. We know that Northwestern is coming off of a huge win against Bowling Green by a score of 49-7 in that contest. Clayton Thornton, career high 370 yards in the game, as well as 2 touchdowns. Justin Jackson, 18 carries, 121 yards, as well as 3 touchdowns. So a huge game for Justin Jackson. Garrett Dickerson, 9 carries for 150 yards, so also a very solid display for him as well. For Wisconsin, they're coming off of a win over BYU by a score of 40-6. Alex Hornibrook, 18 of 19, so a very accurate game for him would be a fair thing to say. 256 yards as well as 4 touchdowns, so a huge performance by Alex Hornibrook. Jonathan Taylor, 18 carries, 128 yards as well as a touchdown. How would you break down this matchup?
Well, this is always a physical matchup. Even though Northwestern is not ranked, but you still can't take them lightly. You have to take them serious. They can be good on offense and they play real physical defense, especially their linebackers. I always like their linebackers. They are willing to tackle and open space. They are very technician and they do a good job. So against that very good Wisconsin team, on the road, if you want to get the upset win, just keep it simple. Don't beat yourself and get opportunity to make plays when it's presented to you. Chew up the clock and get them on their heels. Now, for the offense, it has to be consistent. Just get the running game going and be able to make plays in the passing game. Nothing too fancy. Get some completions here and there. That will open up more in the passing game and the playbook. So if you can do that, takes advantage of some one-on-one matchups, Northwestern will be able to be successful on offense. Their defense has to step up big, and they have to stop the run. Because Wisconsin is a good running team. If you can be able to stop the run, you can force Wisconsin to be a passing team that play in your favor, force them to be a one-dimensional offense. If you can do that, Northwestern have a chance to upset on the road in Wisconsin. Now, for Wisconsin, you can't take Northwestern for granted, as I was alluding to. Just continue to play play good defense, force 3 and outs, get key turnovers, no mistakes, and offense. Just pound the rock, wear down Northwestern's defense, force them on their heels, force them get missed tackles, and also be consistent in the passing game. Don't do too much. Don't just put it on the running game shoulders instead of the quarterback shoulders. That's what they usually do, and just get points. And Wisconsin will be able to win that game.
So this is definitely going to be a great matchup. I like this one as well because it is an opportunity for Northwestern, who's also 2-1 on the year. So definitely off to a pretty decent start as well. Opportunity to maybe potentially upset the Wisconsin Badgers. I can't wait to find out how this game turns out this coming Saturday.
Yep.
The second matchup we're going to talk about, the number 2 Georgia Bulldogs, who we discussed earlier, taking on the Tennessee Volunteers. Georgia, like we mentioned earlier, fresh off a win over Mississippi State, once again by a score of 31-3. Tennessee, however, is fresh off a win, defeating UMass, a close game indeed, by a score of 17-3 in that game. Quentin Dormady, 17-27 for 187 yards and a touchdown in that game. John Kelly, 25 carries, 101 yards, 1 touchdown, as well as a 12-yard touchdown run in the first half. Brandon Johnson, 7 receptions, 123 yards. Not a pretty win, but I do want to take this as a quote that Butch Jones said, the coach of the Tennessee Volunteers. They said that I will never apologize for a win, as in this wasn't the prettiest way to win, but they found a way to get it done in that contest. What do you like about this game?
Well, and he's right about that. It could be the ugliest win, but at the end of the day, win is win. Now let's get to the game. What I like about this matchup is the game is another SEC Clash of the Titans matchup, and Tennessee has a lot to prove, and they have to be able to find a way to outplay Georgia to get this win. Now, if Tennessee wants to be a good team like Georgia, you gotta play damn near good football. You have to be perfect at everything: offense, defense, special teams. It has to be close to perfect. If it's not, Georgia take advantage of it and make you pay. So, and also to the coaching staff, they have to be smart in play calling, especially on offense. Be smart in play calling. Now, for Tennessee's offense, what they have to do is the offensive line has to be able to bully Georgia's defensive line and get the running game going, because Georgia has a good front seven, like I was alluding to earlier, Get the running game going. Be consistent in that. Also in the passing game, don't try to make big plays. Just take what the defense gets you for like 5, 6 yards on first or second down, and just keep going like that. And that will potentially open the doors for more bigger plays in the passing game. And don't turn over the ball and no penalties. Now for defense of Tennessee, it has to continue to get better because Georgia is about ground and pound, and they got three running backs that can get loose and put your defense into the hole. So what they have to do is they have to stop the run and force Georgia to be a one-dimensional offense and by passing the ball a lot. And Tennessee got talent, but at the same time, their defense can be how do I put it? The defense can be not disciplined and get penalties and give up big plays at times, and they have to correct that. And Tennessee be able to correct that on defense, they can find themselves in a close, tight game. Also, could potentially get an upset win. Now for Georgia, what they have to do is just keep being Georgia, play good defense, stop the run, force Tennessee to be a passing happy offense, and you'll take advantage of that by 3-and-outs, turnovers, and play good in special teams. Now, offense, just keep pounding the rock and just keep making it simple for the young freshman quarterback as he progresses. Once he progresses, then you can take shots down the field and all that, get your receivers vertically and get like a deep post route going. All in all, that's what Georgia has to do to win this game over Tennessee.
Another big test once again for the Georgia Bulldogs taking on once again the Tennessee Volunteers. This is definitely another test for them to show, like you were saying, if this team is definitely for real. They've definitely shown it thus far this year. I can't wait to see what happens with the outcome of this game.
Me too.
If Georgia wins this game, though, definitely for sure, I think they'll definitely turn a lot of heads going into talking about the college playoff picture. We'll see about that coming soon later in the season. The third matchup we're going to get into would be the Oklahoma State Cowboys versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Oklahoma State, like we talked about earlier, they're first off of that loss to TCU. However, Texas Tech is off of a victory against the Houston Cougars by a score of 27-24. In that game, they also snapped the Houston Cougars' 16-game home winning streak in that contest as well. Nick Shamanek, 321 yards as well as 2 touchdowns in that contest. Kiki Kuti, 11 receptions, 161 yards, and a touchdown in that game. What do you like about this matchup?
Well, Oklahoma State is going to be a pissed off team because
Yes.
they lost at home. They're upset. They're mad. They let that game get away from them. So for this game, they'll be able to learn from their mistakes against TCU going forward against Texas Tech. Now for Oklahoma State, whatever you do on offense, just take what the defense gives you. I mean, you could make your big plays here and now and then. That's what Oklahoma State is known to do for it. But they have to adjust and learn how to take what the defense gives you and let their skilled players make plays. Get the running game going. The offensive line has to do a better job of protecting Mason Rudolph, which I think they will. And I say Oklahoma State offense will bounce back and score some points. Now for the defense has to respond back. They have to be physical. They got to force Texas Tech offense to be one-dimensional. The secondary has to step up big. If the secondary can step up and against the Texas Tech receivers, they'll be all right. You have to be able to stop the run and force Texas Tech to beat you in the pocket with the passing game. If you can do that, Oklahoma State can be successful. Now for Texas Tech, they got lucky and went on the road, and they're coming off a win. Now they have to be better on defense because Oklahoma State got some firepower on offense. So they have to, especially the secondary. The secondary is going to have a challenge. They're going to have their hands full dealing with the Oklahoma State receivers. So if the secondary can step up big and force Oklahoma State to a bind, then they'll win. And the running game, they have to stop that. For Texas Tech offense, you have to be consistent, and you have to take a page of what TCU offense did to Oklahoma State defense. You have to run the ball effectively. You got to choose the time out the clock, and you have to take what the defense give you in the passing game. Be consistent, and because Oklahoma State likes to play soft coverage, so if you play soft, just throw easy pickets, get like 6 to 8 yards, get chunk plays that would potentially lead to a touchdown. So if Texas Tech can do that, they can find a way to upset Oklahoma State at home.
Oklahoma State, 2 losses in a row. You think it could be possible, but I'm thinking Mason Rudolph, you have an opportunity to redeem yourself against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. We'll see what happens. Of course, we knew he threw for 398 yards, 2 yards shy of 400 yards, which is pretty impressive in this contest, so we'll definitely see what happens with that. We're going to talk about the fourth and final matchup of the broadcast, and that is the Clemson Tigers taking on the Virginia Tech Hokies.
Well, this will be an exciting game. Two physical teams have too well defense. I can't wait for this matchup.
The thing that makes this interesting, Clemson, of course, they're off of a win against Boston College by a score of 31-7 in that contest. The thing I love about this game against Boston College, the way that Clemson was able to show poise down the stretch, scoring 3 touchdowns altogether in the final 6 minutes of that game to run away in that contest. Kelly Bryant, 17 of 26 for that 140 yards. He threw 2 picks in that contest. Travis Etienne, 9 carries for 113 yards, 2 touchdowns, including a 50-yard score in the fourth quarter for Clemson. Virginia Tech coming off a shutout win to nothing. Josh Jackson, the quarterback, 20 of 30, 298 yards, as well as 3 touchdowns and only 1 interception in that game. Why'd you pick this matchup?
This is another heavyweight fight. 2 undefeated teams in the ACC conference. Now, this is a true test for Clemson, especially in a hostile environment in Virginia Tech. Everybody's going to be hyped up. Everybody's going to be excited. So this is another true test for Kelly Bryant, the quarterback. He has to be careful. He cannot make mistakes against this very good Virginia Tech defense. Because if you make a mistake against them, they'll take advantage of it and they'll make you pay. So they have to be consistent on offense. They have to be able to run the ball efficiently, and they also have to take what the defense gives you in the passing game. So if you can do that, beat the same offense you continue to beat, then you can be successful in scoring a lot of points. Now, Clemson, they're a very good disciplined team, especially on offense and defense. Now, what defense has to do is eliminate the big plays from Virginia Tech. They have to be able to come up with some schemes here and there. They have to be able to stop the run, and I like their front seven because their front seven can penetrate, get back into the backfield for a sack or for a loss and stop their run. And also in the passing game, the secondary has a challenge. They have to be able to force Virginia Tech's receivers to make plays. If they can do that, then Clemson can win this game. Now, I like Vanderbilt, who is the underrated defensive coordinator for Clemson, so he'll figure out something to stop Virginia Tech's offense. Clemson is too disciplined, so Clemson will be able to find a way to make plays on offense and defense. Now, for Virginia Tech, you have to be able to find ways to make plays against this good Clemson defense. Because Clemson does not beat themselves in defense. So you have to do something unorthodox that Clemson has never seen. Come up with some wrinkles here or there. But you have to be able to run the ball effectively and efficiently. The offensive line of Virginia Tech has to beat the big bullies against Clemson's defensive line. If they can do that, they'll be able to control this game, create some creases for the running game, for the running backs to get some holes. And the receivers has to be able to make plays, and also the quarterback cannot afford turnovers. That's what Clemson feeds off of. If the Virginia Tech offense is going to win this game, they have to play damn near good, perfect on offense to be successful to win this game. Now, Virginia Tech defense be able to stop Clemson's offense, you have to be able to force Clemson into a one-dimensional offense. You have to be able to stop the run and force the young quarterback to beat you. If you can do that, Virginia Tech gets the upset win at home against Clemson.
Thing I definitely want to say is this actually might be my favorite matchup of the four because I think this one is very tough. Both these teams have a lot to prove. They're both coming off of huge wins in the previous week.
I'm going to say this. Whoever wins this game more likely could win the ACC conference and potentially get to the 14 college playoff. So we'll have to watch out for that because there's a lot riding on this game. Virginia Tech wants to prove they can hang with the big boys, and Clemson wants to prove that last year's national championship is no fluke. So both teams got a lot at stake and got a lot of riding on this game.
Clemson and Virginia Tech coming this weekend. I'm going to pick this one as my favorite, without a question. Out of the four, I definitely got to say this one has to be it. I think this is definitely, like you mentioned, I'm going to have to say this might be the heavyweight fight that I'm going to pick for the week.
Oh yeah, this is by far the game of the week.
And with that going, moving forward, my favorite part of the segment, outside of the breakdowns of the weekly matchups, are predictions going into Week 5 of this week's college football season. We're going to start with Northwestern versus number 10 Wisconsin. Who do you like?
I like Wisconsin at home. Northwestern can play some good football, but I feel like Wisconsin will be able to make more plays on offense and defense to get this win. It'll be close, but at the end, Wisconsin will make enough plays and score points to win. So I'm going to say 30-20 Wisconsin.
I'm in agreement with that one. I do like Wisconsin as well. Both of these teams definitely going to be riding high into this game, both coming off the huge wins. I think Wisconsin will find a way to get it done. I think on the defensive end in the fourth quarter, I'm going to give them a score as well. I'm going to say 28-21 is going to be my score in that game. The second matchup, Georgia versus Tennessee. Who do you have?
I have Georgia winning big because Tennessee is not disciplined enough with a team like Georgia. Georgia is too disciplined, especially on defense. They won't beat themselves. They'll find a way to stop the run and force the quarterback to beat them. I like Georgia winning this game 38-17.
I'm going to agree with this one as well. I like Georgia. I just like the way they've been playing this entire season. They have a lot to prove. They're like we both been talking about. They definitely want to make their name. They want to put their footprints for themselves into the SEC conference. I definitely think we'll be hearing about them. I think they'll find a way to get into the college football playoff, in my opinion. I think, like you said, they'll win this game big. I want to say they'll win 35-14. For the third matchup, the Oklahoma State Cowboys and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Who you got?
I got Oklahoma State coming off pissed off, winning big on the road. I say Oklahoma State will show no mercy against Texas Tech. But be careful, could be a trap game, but I don't see that happening. So I'm going to say Oklahoma State wins 35-10.
I like Oklahoma State bouncing back in this game. I think Mason Rudolph will be huge again. Once again, Mason Rudolph continue to follow that young man. A ton of talent. Absolutely, he's an offensive threat nonetheless. I think they are going to win big. I'm going to give them a score. I'm going to say they're going to win 28-7 in this contest. I think Mason Rudolph is going to have another 300-plus game. I'm going to say he throws for 375 yards in this contest as well. And I definitely think he'll have quite a few highlights in this one as well. The fourth and final matchup, the defending national champion Clemson Tigers and Virginia Tech. Who do you got?
Drum roll. I am taking Clemson in a very close game in Blacksboro. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be Class of the Titans. It's going to be David versus Goliath, or however you say it. But I'm going to say Clemson wins on the road 23-20 because I'm saying Clemson is a better disciplined team and they're going to make more plays on offense and defense to execute more than Virginia Tech's offense and defense. And it's on the road, but I see Kelly Bryant leading his team to a victory, so I'm picking 23-20 Clemson.
kind of torn between this one, to be honest with you. I think this could go either way. I definitely think it's going to end up resulting in either a key turnover or a huge touchdown for either one of these teams. I really think it's going to come down to not necessarily just Kelly Bryant for Clemson. I think Josh Jackson's performance, if he can find a way to not make any mistakes and throw any picks in this game, I definitely think Virginia Tech is definitely going to be right in there. I'm going to say, something's telling me upset. I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to say Virginia Tech is going to upset Clemson 27-24 in this contest.
Okay, that's good. But we'll just see and we'll find out.
We will definitely see. I'm just going with my gut feeling. It's going to be a great game. This is definitely my favorite game of the 4 matchups. I can't wait to see this one.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. With that being said, that is your top 4 matchups as well as our predictions for this edition of Gameball College Kickoff.
Social media, you can follow me on Facebook, Gameball College Kickoff / Gameball NFL Insight. That's the Facebook page. You can email me at gck.gnnfle@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at capitalized GAMEBALL _ with the capital M, then lowercase YKE. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at gck.gnfletv. And your social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at JovelENT. That is all one word. Also follow me on Instagram at JovelENT as well. And also you can hit me up on Facebook, Marcus JovelENT Jenkins.
Until then, I'm Michael Riley, and this is Marcus Young Genius Jenkins by saying, have a safe, blessed night, and be good. This is Gameball College Kickoff Podcast, where the football season never ends. Peace. We are out.
USA.